Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 Throwdown the Mountain 10, presented by Sun King Discs, along with Discraft. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, joined alongside none other than Nate Perkins, right here on one of our two MPO feature cards. Nate, watching yourself play a little disc golf on a blind disc golf course. Maybe you should have done commentary with me last year, so you'd at least know what the course looked like, man. Hanging in there, and now we head over to this par 4, hole number 10. This is a newer hole that just got introduced to the course a couple of years ago, and it seems like it's a really welcomed addition. You got to love this green.
Yeah, this is a really neat par 4. It's pretty specific landing zone. Another shot that is blind. You can't see exactly where you're trying to land. And if you're too early, you pinch your angle, you'd rather be more forward, and that's a little too short right there. You really want to be past those kind of young pine trees right there.
See a little quick pan at the turn where Hedgecam Ryan is hanging out. And, okay, well, I guess I feel like that's one way to preview where you want to be, right there.
Yeah, that's
pretty much
perfect.
5 feet to the right might be even a little nicer, but nobody would complain with that spot. Here's Wiggins.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it before, Terry. Paul's actually dealing with a little bit of an elbow issue, and he told me that he's doing everything he can to not throw any forehands at all, so...
And what exactly are you trying to accomplish with this shot here? Are you looking for it to kind of pan or stall out?
Yeah, I've got a pretty flippy night strike, and I'm throwing it at the back wall and hoping that it's going to kind of use its understability to kind of break left, and it did exactly that.
Good check up on the green. Everything looked great about that. You're in good position for birdie.
And David gets real crafty with this P2 shot there. And just stays on top of the ridge there.
A few feet right, and you're almost left with no putt, but he's up on the green. Looking at probably a little forehand flick here by Charlie.
Four kind of different ways to get up the hill. Or I guess we've seen 3 ways, and we're about to see the 4th right here. And normally Paul would just go to a little forehand Annie with a zone or something, but he really stretched out to kind of throw that awkward backhand and did so really well.
Yeah, looks like he's got a few tools in that bag of his. So all 4 of you have birdie looks. Here's Wiggins to act first. And that looked good the whole way. So he'll collect the first birdie. Dave trying to fight himself back to par. He, had the triple bogey, had a double bogey back on the front 9. And right now he's just seeing if he can battle back. Charlie to go to 2 under. And pro tip, don't put anything near one of those ant hills. Those things are nasty as well. Maybe not quite as nasty as some of the Texas ant hills we just dealt with, but in general,
they're both out to get you.
Yeah.
I think Texas is a little more prickly and windy. I think Florida's a little more wet, maybe warm.
Definitely humid out here as a storm rolled through the night before, and that's why we're dealing with a few different tees and pins on this layout. But here we are on 11. Beautiful downhill shot.
Yeah, this is a reachable par 4, 600 feet. Another just really fun shot to throw. You can't really see the basket from the tee pad, but you can see that pine straw in the clearing where the pin is.
And look at this, just continue to fade.
That was a gorgeous flight there. That is a Falk, a K1 Falk from Charlie, and just held that slow turnover the whole way. And I kind of get on top of this cloud breaker here, and it pushes a little too far left, and you're kind of behind a wall of trees right there, and you have to get pretty crafty to get up and down.
Yeah, you really want to be at least, if you're going to be anywhere that's not into the wood line, you want to be at least 30 feet short of where you are, I would say. Then you have a couple tunnels.
And this is Paul's flippiest Zeus. Gets it to pan and slightly hook up at the end. And here's David with that PD again.
Oh, man.
Killed his flight. I think he had the best flight of all the shots and
just couldn't quite penetrate. And what line were you seeing? I didn't even think to point the camera up that high, nor did the other cameraman.
Yeah.
You had a little window?
Yeah, the window was there, and honestly, I hit a tree, and it just ricocheted straight toward the basket. So
we'll take it.
Pretty fortunate.
So this being a somewhat soft par 4, that was for eagle.
Impressive move on that putter like that to get the nose down from that distance. This is probably his best looking putt of the round. And that's kind of an unfortunate. Yeah, I'm with you, Charlie, because his shot was so pretty, and then he's kind of left with nothing. And
meanwhile, McBeth had clarified with the group if he was outside of the circle, and it looks like he is just by a step or so. He's concerned about being able to follow through. Or just stabbing it in there. I mean, if you're a betting man, Charlie, I think you'd say more often than not, you'd think he's going to make it. I'll give him that. So that might not feel like a birdie, but again, not a soft par 4. That's all right.
Something went right in my eye. I don't know what it was.
Big shout out to Discraft as one of your presenting sponsors, along with Sun King. Thanks for the additional coverage and help there, Discraft. Here we are on 12. This is a shorter pin due to the rain. Now, normally you don't see that water that's right there. And this is actually about 40 feet shorter than where it was in practice for the previous few days, simply because so much water collected there overnight. So this is a slight change up for our players, but a relatively easy one.
Paul going Luna there, just leaving it 25 feet short. It's hard to judge the distance from the tee, and he comes walking off the tee pad looking at both of us going, he left it 50 short.
On an already shortened hole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just a couple feet right. Good looking shot from Charlie there with his Rico.
Yeah, and he's actually just a few feet from where the pin normally is.
And I'm just kind of toning down on a night strike 2 there. One of my favorite shots to throw, honestly, is just a straight shot with a flippy fairway.
And you don't have a problem controlling it and throwing it that light, so to speak?
It's just my favorite shot to throw, so I feel like I take some pride in those. And David, real smooth with that P2 there. Okay, so we should actually talk about that because everybody loves a controversy. And so there's a new rule and it's not quite clear whether or not you're allowed to move something if it's in your run-up. You're definitely allowed to move something if it's in your stance, but there's still some confusion amongst the professionals whether or not you can move something if it's in your run-up and not in your stance. So
yeah, so further that, yeah, the PDGA has made a clarification in 2022 about what it means, whether it's your stance and supporting points, and there's a lot of things you should go out and read, but that's kind of been a topic of conversation leading up into this point, hence Paul making the comment about moving it. I think there's going to be another brief conversation about it later, too. So, yeah, it comes down to a clarification, and there's a little ambiguity, but there's also a little interpretation overall, and that's how I would word it. And it's really not a new rule. It's more so how they've attempted to clarify it.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the clarification might have muddied it. But
pretty good star frame right there.
exactly. I was just going to say, nonetheless, good star frame. You had the CTP.
Hello, this is Levon Wolf. I want to thank you for making the End Zone Quick Stick the #1 retriever in disc golf. The new XXL is now 4 feet longer, has a 22-foot reach, and a new folding head that's easier to carry. For the best in quality and function, use a Quick Stick.
You could certainly use one with all of the new water found out on this course, including a shorter tee here on 13.
Yeah, par 4, 586. Kind of got an early Mando on the left, which is taking the big roller out of the play, you would think. But probably one of the more attackable par 4s.
Yeah, and this one is normally about 300 feet longer and places a par 5.
And Paul was just having fun with this one. He threw the shot low and right at that Mando. And if it didn't hit that tree, he was going to carry to circle 2's edge at least. But what a shot to even attempt from Paul.
Another roller. Here's Charlie's version.
You're going the wrong way.
Kind of a fun one that you can get aggressive with. Again, this isn't a tee that you would normally throw from. In fact, this is almost the landing zone, maybe, of a mediocre shot from the normal long tee.
Trying to get that cloud breaker to break over and just didn't quite get it up to speed, and it's not too good over there on that right side of the fairway.
On a slip by Wiggins.
Keep moving. And just so unfortunate to catch that tuft of grass right there.
Really a tough break. What kind of window did you have?
I had a little something, and I actually really liked the shot, and I hit right above the pin, and it kind of plinkoed back to that circle's edge look right there.
Certainly could have landed closer. And this looks routine for Charlie.
Yeah, he's really dialed with that berg. It's honestly one of the more unique molds I've ever felt. And it just doesn't glide at all, which every player can use a disc that has little to no glide in their bag.
I'm not going to say I'm disappointed, but McBeth did say, I'm going to try and skip this one in for you.
He did.
He wanted it on coverage and needed a little more flair. Well, and it needed to skip higher, but you got a little window here. Oh, and it looks so good, too. You had it framed up. You've been putting pretty well. You probably thought that was in out of your hand, didn't you?
I felt confident with the stroke and just didn't. You can see it in my body. I just don't get the legs involved in the putt at all, and I kind of lean forward with my weight. So, you know, I love to analyze everyone's kind of putting strokes and their drives and stuff, and can be cool to to look at your own and see exactly why you just missed that.
They're going to head up the hill. There's going to be a little bit of a break before we get to this monster, hole 14.
Man, probably the signature hole on the property, par 5, nearly 1,000 feet. You don't have a lot of fairway to work with, and you're throwing downhill, so if you get the angle wrong at all, you'll find yourself in dense rough. Takes 2 good shots to get out into the open, and then you have a pretty open approach. And that is a huge drive and just right in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, most people aren't throwing their fastest drivers, that far on this shot, let alone a controlled one. That might have been his Reaper, not even a super high-speed driver to get it to do what it did. It was picture perfect.
And there's Charlie kind of getting the angle wrong just a bit with that lots there, and it's a big difference when you're throwing this downhill.
Actually, a high-speed driver in Dave's hand.
Yeah, destroyer from David.
Oh, wow.
And we were kind of all on the edge of our seat for this one, ready to see the world distance record. Man, just let it rip, and it just fell out of his hand, and I kind of wanted him to just re-tee and just,
me too.
just send it.
It's funny. I was thinking the same. Rather than dealing with what might be a nasty lie, we'd love to see him just throw from the top again. And that's not too bad. I mean, pushes that left side. That's not a bad angle at all. And Dave is not even 200 feet off the tee at this point, and now he's got to pitch out into the open, and he's going to have some work to do if he wants to save the par.
What we talked about on 6, or 5. It's from what I understand, no, you can't. That's what I understand. You can't move stuff that's in your run up. You only can move stuff that's in your stance or like in your accuracy. But you can do whatever you want. I don't even know if it's right. Like the Disc Golf Pro Tour doesn't even know. They said they're gonna get clarity. It's all good.
So again, that conversation, you see the sticks there, which aren't where a supporting point, won't be a supporting point, even though he's going to run to that area. So he just basically ignores them. And I was not expecting a high angle there.
He just has so much power coming from the legs. I don't know if there's really no one that's still modeling their form after what he was doing. I mean, you could pick that silhouette out still.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even play anymore. It's really, really cool.
So Charlie just trying to find center fairway, and
some players are just more vocal than others about their shots and other shots. Charlie's one of those people.
here you are from left side fairway. Oh, and McBeth, great shotted you?
I think I just got
What?
niced by
Oh
Paul.
my gosh.
He actually came up to me and said that he was sorry. He said, "I'm sorry, Nate. I thought your disc was past those trees."
It did look really good, but we saw it get hung up on the back, and you'll have a little search party for it.
It's just so funny that even at the professional level, that getting nice shotted is still a thing, very much a thing.
Here's Charlie, goes from right side to left side fairway. Now that is a great angle and just a perfectly executed forehand from where he was. And I think the mistake a lot of players would make is think, I need to make a recovery shot from here and bite off even more and then make another mistake. But that was perfect. Here's McBeth with his second.
He's playing the hole so much better than the rest of us.
What are you gonna give him? Your money, let him get away.
Oh, come here, you little guy. Come here. It's okay.
Ow! That's my throwing thumb.
I really never left the ground.
There's just a little black racer. They're
I somehow missed that whole scene.
Yeah,
I think
you
I
were
was-
up a little bit more on the fairway, and for $1, Charlie said he'd go and try and pick up the snake. And then I did tell him, I think that was the first snake pickup I've ever had on my own coverage.
Oh,
so
really? Nice.
I think so.
We're part of history right here.
Yes.
Oh, what a shot from David from the patent pending.
Actually deep of the pin, and going to be left with a long one. Here you are pitching out from the right side.
Oh, no. This one got me a little heated. You know, when you climb into deep rough and then you throw it into even deeper rough on the other side of the fairway, it's hard not to sweat a little bit, you know?
Charlie's fourth. Remember,
is-
almost 1,000-foot par 5 we're dealing with.
And nice shot with his Rico X.
so crazy from that one tree hit back there.
And that was a very quick pull up and release. You're a little frustrated, probably.
That
Is that a fair statement?
That looks like someone's on tilt right there, Terry.
Yeah.
When they're talking about the tree that they hit 2 shots ago and not taking their time.
Still a solid recovery and a little frustration. Here's McBeth for eagle. In practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, he had eagled this. He
Wow.
had taken the 3. Now, meanwhile, this is Wiggins for his bogey.
And what an up and down from that standstill, or that patent pending, rather.
Yeah, and just think he, didn't carry 200 feet off the tee originally either.
Yeah. And I walk over to this lie, and I'm like, I'm getting a double bogey. There's no putt. I put it straight through the tree, and it catches left side. I'm showing them.
I looked and I don't see what you did there.
Meanwhile, some excitement here on the card. Yeah, Charlie's going to walk away with the 5.
Yeah, good par.
McBeth with the 4.
Yep.
And then
well
a pair
done.
of 6s. And unfortunately, that's a great cribbage hand. 4, 5, 6, 6 as we head over hole 15.
Oh, man, what a gem of a par 4 this one is. You've got a barbed wire fence on your right. Most right-hand backhand players are kind of throwing a gentle turnover. They want to land on the road just before you get to this break. You're going left up the hill and then gently from left to right. This pin is kind of tucked around a corner. It takes a very precise tee shot to access the green on your second. And Paul has pushed that too straight. You can see that's where we're trying to go right there. So he's going to have to try and go backdoor on this one. This is that lots from Charlie's. Put a great move on it. And that looked perfect. Kind of looked like he was going to start to fade right back up that hill on the left. PD from David needs it to hold that Annie and just didn't quite have the pace.
Are you picking a point that you're just trying to get to, trying to find the middle of the road there?
Yep, just trying to land this cloud breaker in the middle of the road with enough distance that I have an angle, and I'm in the perfect spot for another forehand, honestly.
Oh, fall down right there. That was so
So although Charlie, had a little more distance he would have liked to get, had it not hit the tree, still in a perfectly manageable spot here.
Yeah, Charlie, I think, would prefer to throw a turnover into the green rather than that forehand, and I would kind of prefer to throw that kind of baby Anheuser forehand. So I'm loving this spot right here.
Very consistent birds, whatever those are. I have no idea. I don't. Madison, I know you dropped out of the tournament just before it happened. We need you.
Yeah, I was surprised to not see her.
She's, I believe, moving this week. She had spent a lot of time at the Airbnb that she was at throughout the off season, and then is ultimately, I think, relocating her headquarters and hitting the tour more. So at the, she was a very last moment withdrawal, unfortunately. This is also the event where I met Madison Walker for the first time many years ago. So Florida, always providing the goods. And McBeth, after going way too long, is trying to get creative from the backside. And there's not a lot of options over there. I promise you guys, you don't want to be back there.
This is just such a beautiful hole. Everything about it. The green.
It just has such a natural shape for a disc golf hole.
And it's not very often that there's grass in the woods on a disc golf course. I think that's one of the special touches of this place. And that was just an incredible shot over the top. Went and checked his lie after, didn't really see it. It was just really crafty from Charlie.
Making some magic, and now Dave's going to have to come up with some of his own. Man, such tiny trees, but yet so much trouble. Kind of uncomfortable. Is this a rhino, I think, out of his him?
I think so.
Just trying to flake it up there and move on.
Oh.
Right on line. So here's McBeth now. This is for his 3. Oh, and doesn't get all the way out, which I was quite surprised to see. He said he had a big enough window. He just didn't hit it. So now this is to save par.
He couldn't have done it twice in a round.
What, that you missed?
It's a good putt, though. Just outside the circle, kind of high left, but he just always seems to have the pace on it to get it to stick, even if it hits a spot that others might not normally stick. And pace control, there's a lot to be said about, controlling the pace.
Charlie with a pretty solid recovery, as you mentioned. He's going to walk away at the par. Fortunately, Wiggins going the wrong way. He's going to go to +2. And you'll be tapping in as you sit at 4 under. McBeth really pushing forward with 11 under, even with that par save there. I'm going to make a walk up the hill to a little shorty here. Hole 16.
Yeah, a little bit of a curveball. You hardly ever see a hole under 200 feet at an A-tier event. This is 163, but a well-placed pin. You cannot air this one long. If you see your disc go over that hill like we are Paul's right now, and he actually gets a little bit of a break and stays on that hillside. A lot of the times they just continue on to the bottom.
It's good.
Great shot.
Really nice touch. You talked about pace, and you're thinking of that in terms of a putt, but to get yourself with something somewhat sharp onto this edge, that requires quite a bit of control.
Yeah, pretty good shot with the MD5 right there, and really nice shot with the P2 right here from David. This is probably one of the prettier greens on the course. And as they like to say, the highest point in Florida. Don't they love saying that, Terry?
Either that or Central Florida. I don't know what all the qualifiers are here. Meanwhile, McBeth can't get a grip here on the mountainside. Either that or he's trying some new yoga. I don't know what this guy's doing. He's going to have to work hard for it. Yes, he does have a mini down. I know it looks like his disc is actually off to the side, but he's put a mini down. What an awkward stance. And there's a drop-off directly behind the basket.
Yeah, he just connected from a similar distance on the last hole.
No frustration with finding his footing there.
I love all the extra, though. Honestly, Terry, I love the extra cut there.
That
whole
show
scene of him just kind of trying to get his footing and then finally getting it, and you could tell he was never fully comfortable on the putt, and some visible frustration there, but definitely tough to miss this hole when you're shooting so well. I mean, he's only had a few pars on the round, and this is a 163-foot hole.
Yeah, I mean, he took a 4 a few minutes ago on a 1,000-foot hole, and now he's taking a 3 on a 163-foot hole. The math doesn't check out, but here we are on 17 thanks to aerial elements.
This is just a menacing hole. You've got OB right off the edge of the fairway on that left side. 409 feet. Another kind of low ceiling straight shot.
And as you were throwing this, all I kept thinking is just don't turn anything over. Anywhere off to that right-hand side you can deal with. And, as you're saying, you're fully aware of the out of bounds on the left, but anywhere on the right is fine. And this is kind of a bonus birdie, I feel like.
Yeah, with that OB, it definitely turns it into a bonus birdie. David going.
That's a rock again. Oh, what a favorable kick.
Yeah.
We'll have to see just how close that is, but that looked like that was out of bounds the entire way and then somehow kicks back a little bit. Here's McBeth.
Yeah, he's circles the edge right there.
Yeah, maybe even just inside. And
really good shot.
Again, right side is where you need to be.
This is a K1 Falk from Charlie.
Oh, work. I don't know why I was worried about that working. It's working too much.
And that's the one that we saw, I think, with the long turnover on 11.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, nice. Oh, and he's just straddling the line right there.
Again, per PDJ rules, if any part of your disc is touching inbounds, you are considered inbounds. Again, any part of your disc. Even if it's 99% OB and there's just one little sliver that's inbounds, then you're considered in. So Dave's all good to go here.
David was telling me, Terry, that he's currently one of the engineers for a new build on a 170-foot ferry. So pretty impressive what he's doing with his career.
Yeah, he's really taken that seriously over the last couple of years and made that his priority, and that's why we haven't seen him on the scene. I think 170-foot ferry, that's McBeth can't even birdie that distance, as we saw in the previous hole. I mean, don't let him on that ship.
So funny.
And you're playing the pretty conservative pitch up. You've got OB directly behind the basket along with the ceiling. Not much you can do. And McBeth is trying to distance himself even more from you guys. Surprising.
Really surprising to miss back-to-back birdie putts like that. I mean, that was flat ground, slightly downhill, if anything.
So as we prepare for David to step up to save par, I got a huge thanks to Dwayne and Susan Reeder, myself, along with the McBeths all staying there. They've been gracious hosts for many years. Mike Barnett for bringing me into the event, along with an extended crew as Dave cashes in his par. And, of course, Nate, thanks for joining. And I think the question for some Double G jerky on the line is, players often go out and play plenty of practice rounds. You're playing this course blind. I want you guys to leave in the comments just how important is a practice round to you. Do you need to see the course before you go out and compete on an event or in an event? That's what I need you to leave in the comments. Let us know. That'll make you eligible for some giveaways, including some jerky, as we head to, well, halfway down the mountain. We're not playing the signature hole 18 this year.
Yeah, talk about that change, Terry.
Yeah, it's just normally you play from way up top, you throw down to the area, the landing zone, and then you play actually to a pin that's on the right about 150 feet from where they're playing right now. So up and to the right is where we'd normally see competitors playing to. And you're asking if the hyzer is in fact the line here to this pin, but quite frankly, no one ever throws to this spot. They're always throwing to where that gentleman is up on the right-hand side.
Yeah, they kind of all looked at me and they're like, no, I think we're just going to throw straight, Nate. And I threw the hyzer. I threw it too low, and I got really lucky to kind of get through the trees right there.
Dave with the P2. That's one way to finish it off. McBeth looking for a dozen. You got a backstop, so I like the aggressive play, honestly. There's so much more danger in being short. So give it a run. I mean, worst case scenario, you're where McBeth is.
Yeah, pretty much plays like an island. If you don't get on top of the hill, you're rethrowing just short of the water.
Man, Charlie rolls all the way back into the water. That's going to be out of bounds.
Charlie had a pretty tough day, honestly. He was close on a lot of putts, had a couple bad breaks, and then to kind of just barely turn that one over and then to catch the tree so heavy is a little unfortunate.
And even with a few of the changes and whatnot, we got a little help from the drone from Aerial Elements. I want to give Mike a big shout out. And McBeth, even with a bogey and a couple of missed putts, still going to walk away with 12 under par.
Yeah, that's a 1070 rated round, and that's about as casual as I've ever witnessed a 1070 rated round.
Just a walk in the park, or a walk up and down a mountain. And as we start to close out, I'm going to thank you again, Nate, for joining. Remember, you got a couple of feature cards here in round one. FPO action. If you don't want to see the results after round one because you're waiting on other coverage, go ahead and close it down now. But otherwise, thanks for joining and looking forward to the rest of the weekend out here at Throne on the Mountain. Here's a few scores for you if you do want to take a look at them, though. After round one, McBeth out in the lead. Heimberg right behind him. Thomas Gilbert and Alex Russell will round out your lead card heading into the final round. Well, we got more stories on that. We'll see you in the final round. For Nate Perkins, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's Throne on the Mountain.